On average, what race do you see being brought into the jail the most?
Hispanics are the highest population we have at jails right now.
Why?
Blacks are second, whites would be third, and Asian population is less than 1% in any jail custody setting. Based on the average population, blacks would be the highest compared to how many blacks are in society. So it's all relative to how many people just in general as a race. There's a higher Hispanic population than blacks, but comparative to in a jail, blacks would be highest in general overall throughout California. But in our jail setting, it looks like more Hispanics. There's quite a few illegal immigrants, which covers a lot of the problems that we have in our jails with Hispanics. And they are actually, most of the illegals are like lower level crimes and stuff like that.
So, in Riverside County, do you think the most common race coming into the jail is increasing or decreasing, and why?
I would say that, again, it is the Hispanics, and I think it is increasing due to the population in general is increasing. So it's not going to slow down unless we slow down the population of immigrants coming in, or I don't see how that would really change anything at all.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Racist America. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The far left once again banging the drum that America is a terrible country, racist in every way. The cable arm of NBC News peddling that. Here's what happened yesterday in a discussion about Ebola, ISIS, and illegal immigration.
The brown people coming from the south, the Arab people coming from the east, the black people coming from Africa. Nobody's saying that in so many words. Nobody's saying it at all, but it's in the background of this whole discussion, and anybody who would deny that doesn't know how this country operates.
Well, I deny it, and I know how the country operates. We're not a racist nation. He's full of you-know-what. Laws and high-level decisions are not based on skin color anymore. But in order to drive African Americans to the polls, race cards now being played with just 2 weeks before the election. Thus, that disgraceful exhibition. On the Ebola.
Can working in the jail change perspective on different ethnicities, and why?
I think people working in a jail setting are going to always struggle with that due to this. That's just society as a whole. When you're working with people on a day-to-day basis and dealing with all these different kinds of races in such a small setting, and you're dealing with the worst of the worst, they're usually going to create the most problems for you compared to people on the street if you're walking by and talking to someone. So if you're dealing with a large sum of one race or another, and they continually be the biggest problem in the jail setting, it's going to probably create a bias whether you like it or not, to some degree. And as far as the bias goes, that's where being a correctional deputy or anybody in a correctional setting, their professional has to come into play, and knowing how to take away that bias and just do your job correctly without any kind of racial or any kind of bias at all.
What were your views growing up, and how are they different now?
I think the views when you're growing up is you don't really totally get and understand what's in a jail setting until you're in there. So a lot of people's perspective is just based off what's on the news, which is extremely a biased information. So when you watch the news, that's most people's only way of knowing what might be in a jail. So when you're growing up, you only learn that, what you see on TV. I think once I personally got in there, and most people when they get in there, they realize that it's nothing like that, and there's the racial differentials is dramatically different than when you grow up.
Have you been personally victimized throughout your life based on your ethnicity?
No, never by my personal issues, no.
Have you been racially profiled by other races? If so, please explain why.
I do remember one time when I was younger, I was about 21, 22. I had just bought a new car and I was coming back from the gym and I was dressed in sweats, and I was going through a part of town that I guess is not as nice, and I got pulled over for no reason. I didn't do anything wrong. I wasn't speeding. And when the police officer stopped me and he asked me, you know, what am I doing here? Whose car is this? And do you have proof that you didn't steal it? This was exactly what he asked me. And I got really upset, and I let him know that wasn't acceptable. Just because I'm dressed the way I'm dressed and I don't happen to be white, that doesn't mean that I stole the damn car.
How do you feel after you've been racially profiled?
I was upset. I didn't think it was appropriate. I thought that he drew or reached a conclusion without having any true facts representing what actually was going on.
During your childhood, do you feel that your ethnicity had an effect on your life?
Definitely. I feel as when I grew up that I knew that, you know, I was made to feel like I was different, but that pushed me to be better, showed me that I can be stronger and to not let anything or anyone put me in a category.
Did you ever notice that a common race racially profiled you? If so, please explain why.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just general nature that people are somewhat afraid of something that's different or someone that's different, and they tend to jump to conclusions without having any facts.
We conducted a 5-question survey focusing on the ethnicities and gave it around our school, and these are our results.
Our first question was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how racist do you think you are? 19 people said 1, 22 people said 2, 20 people said 3, 6 people said 4, 7 people said 5, 2 people said 6, 3 people said 7, 4 people said 8, 1 person said 9, 1 person said 10, 1 person said 11, 1 person said 13, and 13 people said 0. Our second question was, what ethnicity are you? 29 said Mexican, 49 said white, 4 said Asian, 13 said black, 2 said Middle Eastern, 1 said Indian, and 2 said other. Our third question was, do you find yourself uncomfortable around certain race? If so, which one? 4 people said yes, 4 people said around black people, 1 person said around Chinese people, 4 people said around white people, 1 person said around Mexican, 79 said no, and 1 said IDK. Our fourth question was, based on the race of the person you are talking to, do you change the way you talk? 20 people said yes, 72 people said no, 5 people said sometimes, 2 said IDK, and 1 said I hide under a hole. And our last question was, which race do you think is most disliked? And we got 15 people said black, 14 people said Middle Eastern. Oh wait, it was 44 people said Middle Eastern. 23 people said white, 5 said Hispanic, 7 picked more than 1 said Jewish, and 2 didn't answer. Have you ever been victimized by another race?
No, not at all. In fact, growing up, kind of grew in a neighborhood where was kind of mixed. We came from East LA, and then from there we ended up moving to a town called Belinda. At that time it was kind of a brand new world, brand new area.
How did growing up with your race affect your life?
Like I say, when I grew up in West Covina area, and it was just kind of, there was all kinds of races. You know, there was more like Mexican and white, and it was just that kind of real nice neighborhood. So it wasn't affect me at all.
Did you notice a common race victimizing you at all?
No, not at all. That was, like I say, the area we grew up in had like all kinds of mixtures of race, and we kind of all got along real close together.
Does your race affect your work in any way?
It doesn't affect me, you know, as far as anything because of the, like I say, it doesn't really affect me because of I run my own business, so it really doesn't affect me at all as far as like me getting jobs and stuff. We just, at work, and just get the jobs. So it really doesn't affect me at all.